I think one of the things that this show has always done from its inception, I've been on it for 8 years and, covered college football before that in the studio, but on this show for 8 years, we pride ourselves on covering the sport, not just the game where the two teams are playing with the two smallest numbers beside them, meaning the two highest ranked teams. And when things are a story in the sport, we go there. And I think we've proven that all year this year, having gone to Appalachian State. That was not on the radar at all, and they were a story because of, they played that wild game against Carolina and then the upset A&M. They were a story. Kansas, undefeated, playing TCU, been awful forever. They're a story. And Jackson State and what Deion Sanders has come to, that's a story. It's interesting, it's fascinating. It's part of the overall landscape of college football. So I think there is a lot of importance from our standpoint to cover the sport in its entirety. And when something is compelling and interesting and, deserves to be put in the spotlight, then that's what we try to do. And that's, I think, Jackson State and Deion specifically, certainly his star power and his charisma help. There's no reason to sidestep that. But what they've accomplished is important as well, and they've earned this spotlight, and we're happy to put it on them.
What's kind of impressed you? You mentioned defense, but of course, Shedeur Sanders getting a lot of hype and attention, and rightly so. What have you seen from him, his game? Maybe just this season or last year, his progression as a quarterback?
I think you can see. He was really good last year, and you can just see a young quarterback developing. He can really spin it. Obviously, he's known football basically from the time he's been able to walk because of his family. So I think you just see a young quarterback with a ton of talent that's getting better all the time, and one that I think the thing that really has impressed me is that when they've needed scores in tight games, he's been able to lead the team. So I think as much as anything, as much as his ability on the field and all of the characteristics that you want in a quarterback, there's something about that element of a guy who can lead a team when they need to score, even if things haven't gone well. I'm not comparing him to Bryce Young yet, but I'm talking about the trait of being able to do that. Bryce Young last year against Auburn hadn't done anything all day. Needed it 97 yards in a minute. Against Texas, hadn't done anything since the first drive. Let him down for the winning score. And I think that some of those qualities, that sort of intangible that you can't always coach or develop, I think you see that in Shedeur at times when they need scores. And over the last couple of years in tight games, he's been able to lead the offense.
And another player, Travis Hunter. When you see a player like that choose a Jackson State, that made waves. When you see that, are you like, could this be the start of something different in terms of college football? As recruits were looking at the whole entire college landscape and say, hey, let me go to JSU and shine the light on them and really make change. How big was that, not only for Jackson State, but any ways that you may have seen or heard of in college football as far as like Deion and recruiting and getting a player like that, Kevin Coleman too as well?
Mm-hmm. I think it shows that there are a lot of options and that there are a lot of paths, and that you don't always have to choose the path that everyone else has in terms of if you have aspirations to play in the NFL and if you are as talented as he is and could have gone anywhere he wanted to. There are a lot of ways to achieve your goals, and in his particular circumstance, I think that the connection that he had with Deion and some of the shared interests that they have, and his confidence that he could be developed and taught in a way that would give him the opportunity to reach those goals, he chose that path. And I think that's great, because I think a lot of times that players start thinking that if they don't get here, or this particular program or this particular level, you see it in all sports. Everybody thinks they have to go, you see it in baseball players all the time, have to go D1. Well, you don't have to, you have to go where you have the best opportunity to help you develop in the best way you can to pursue the goals that you have. So I think that when a player of that magnitude, and a couple others that they were able to get in their recruiting class too, when they make that choice, then I think there's a pretty obvious trickle-down effect, especially if it works for them. You can say, well, Travis Hunter did it, assuming he goes on and develops and can stay healthy and do all the things that everyone expects him to be able to do, then they can, the next wave of players can say, well, he went that path, I'd like to go that path too.
Sure.
What are you most excited about for this broadcast, this game?
I just want energy and excitement. There's nothing better than doing game day in front of a tremendous scene, and we've been blessed to have a ton of them this year, and I'm hoping for another one on Saturday morning. It's an adrenaline rush, man. I'm not going to lie to you. You want to prepare and have all the exo stuff and all the planning stuff that you do, but to go out there and have a crowd that's excited to have the show there. And we're never under any illusion that they are, it's not like we're the Rolling Stones. They're here to be able to showcase what they're proud about with their football team and their university, and in this case their city, and they want to show that off, and it's gratifying to us that we're the vehicle that they use, so it'll be fun in the morning.
Have you ever been here before?
I have.
Okay.
I have. I was here for the 1984 Alabama-Mississippi State game. And if someone can correct me if I'm wrong. You guys ought to fact check me on this, but I think that was part of a day-night doubleheader. I think that at night that Mississippi Valley State played Alcorn State, and I wanted to. There was a group of guys. I went to school at Alabama. A group of guys. I wanted to watch this star player that Mississippi Valley State had. I wanted to go to the game that night. I think it was still in the stadium. I think. You can correct me if I'm not right about that. It's been a long time. I wanted to see Willie Satellite Todd. I didn't know that really, Willie was a terrific player, but I didn't know that it was, a lot of it might have had to do with that wide receiver Jerry Rice that he had out there, but I wanted to go to the game. But instead, my buddies and I thought that perhaps we should go and visit some young ladies that we knew at Mississippi State on the way back to Tuscaloosa. And as that turned out, we would have been better off going to the game. So anyway, but I've been here for games before, sure.